Okay, I am back with a little demo, and basically it's a little bit of a detour from what I was doing, which is the Salesforce Developer 2 training series. This is actually a real application that I've had to build. It started out very easy, in my head anyway. I just wanted to be able to book payments from a customer or client when they pay for services. And with the problem is that when they pay for multiple services at once, they may pay one payment and want that allocated across multiple different services, or in our real estate cases, properties, or consulting, or whatever was done in the real estate realm for this particular org. So I'm gonna start here with the business problem. Receiving a single payment with multiple expenses. And we want to make sure it gets allocated correctly, so the accounting is proper, and that we're accounting for, and we know how much we charge, and the client knows how much was charged for those particular services. And then dealing with overpayments. How do we deal with overpayments? That's a good problem to have, right? But sometimes people may, especially in the real estate world, people may pay extra and allow you to keep money in what they call an escrow, and use that for payments towards the next. And also for business expenses. I mean, as a business person, you don't want to take on these costs for the client. It's their risk to take, not yours. So, a user story. I sometimes receive a single payment for multiple expenses. I would like a simple way to choose how to allocate them based on the amount owed. And there are multiple components to this application, and it involves a flow, it involves some custom objects, and it involves some Apex in the background. And I thought in the beginning that I could do all this in a flow, and I started to, and I said no. It started to get unwieldy. The flow started getting too big. I wanted the flow to be simple. I wanted a simple user interface. If there's too much in that flow, then I realized that the rest of this should get done either in other flows maybe, or in my case, I use a trigger, and I use an Apex class to do some calculations, because there are multiple objects. And basically, to give you a high level, we have a payment which comes in, and we want to allocate those payments. So there's a master detail. The detail record is a payment allocation. There are expenses, and then there's the escrow. And we want all these calculations to take place. We want the expenses to get calculated as a sum of the payment allocations, and we want any overages to get applied to an escrow. We also want to make sure that there's only one escrow account. The escrow should be one-to-one with the account, the Salesforce account. So that's one other thing I need to build, but just to give you an idea of what we're working with here. Okay, the acceptance criteria. The user will be able to seamlessly allocate disbursement from a single payment. And this is just a snapshot of the Apex class that we use, but basically, and I'll show you the code, but the solution was master detail objects named payment and payment allocation. Excuse me, I had to drink some water because I just finished working out a little bit ago. Payment allocation is a junction to expense. So each payment allocation has to reference an expense. And I guess technically it doesn't have to reference an expense. It could just get applied to escrow, but ideally we want to reference an expense at this point. And this is still a work in progress. I'm going to push this to production today. I'm going to run the test methods and push it to production today to begin using it, because it's not a high volume org, not a lot of these payments taking place, probably 10 or 12 a month, but we still want the accounting to be accurate. And this will fit with some of the other things that we're doing in the future. And then the next steps connect to Stripe for payments. So when a payment comes in, it'll reference a payment object, and the payment object will be created first. Well, actually, the invoice will be created. It'll be sent to the customer. They'll make a payment, and that payment will get applied to, or that payment will become a payment record on the payment object. and automate the allocation of payments from escrow to deficient expenses. That's something I haven't done yet. So we park the money into escrow, but we sometimes have to make sure we allocate it out. So if a payment comes in, if an expense is created and money is in the escrow, we should look there first to apply that. But it may be something we want to do manually. Maybe we want to keep that escrow there and just allow the payments to continue being created automatically, and then we can, if we need to, we can either run a batch job and have those escrows applied, or we can just do it manually. So not something we have to do. We have to automate, but it's just an option. Okay, so I'm going to go and show you. Well, here's the flow. So basically, it's very simple. It's a screen flow. We get the record that's on the page, so we can add it to the lookup in the book payment screen. We create the payment. We get expenses, and we show them in a data table, and then we will assign payment amounts to the remaining allocation. So there's a loop that takes place. We have to take the payment amount and we have to deduct it as it goes through the loop at each expense. So as it gets applied to an expense, we want to reduce that payment amount according to how it gets applied to those expenses. It sounds a little bit more difficult than it is, but accounting is a little tough to do in code or as a developer, because you have to make sure that it matches. You have to make sure that debits equal credits. You can't have money that's not accounted for. So let's go take a look at the code real quick. So we have a trigger. Oh, that's the wrong trigger. That's a different one. Okay, so we have a trigger, and basically, after insert, after update, after delete, after undelete, we call these two methods. They're both in the same class, and one is calculating payment allocations, one's updating expenses. So let's go take a quick peek at that. We're not going to go too deep into it, but basically, to calculate payment allocations, we pass in a payment allocation through the trigger. We go ahead and query those records, and we're going to loop through. We're going to create a variable, an integer value, and we're going to loop through the payment allocations, and we're going to update the expenses as they get applied. So here's how the expenses get updated, and this method will actually get or create an escrow. Escrow basically is a custom object. It's a record, and ideally we only want one escrow per account. And if an escrow is found, then we'll just update that escrow with the value based on what we have left over. And if it's not found, then it will create one. So let's go and see how this works in the UI. It's a lot easier to explain in the UI. So we'll go. I have this test account. Now, I don't want to show anyone's real account information, but so you see test account populates here once you get to the page. Payment date defaults to the current day, and then we're going to say that they sent us a check for $500, and the payment method they sent it via Venmo. It doesn't really matter, but one of the things that does matter, like if they pay by escrow, then we want to use that, and we want to deduct that amount from the escrow. So that's just another factor that I'm going to be adding later. And then, so here's the outstanding amount that they have. This is the amount left, the amount remaining. This is the amount we're paying. This is the total amount that they owe, $2,000. Go ahead next. The payment's been allocated. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll go over here to payments, and I did create one earlier. So this is the one I just created on Venmo. You see it's a standard record here. And here's how the payment allocated. $500 towards the expense, which is roof repair. Now, one other thing I want to do is show you how the escrow works. So say they give us another payment. Let's go $1,500. Just make sure we have an overage. And they send a check. We'll go through that. We'll apply it. If they still have $1,000, so they only owe $1,000, they're paying $1,500 right now. Our payment's been allocated. All right, so that payment just got recorded. We'll go over here to $1,500. You see a $1,500 payment just got recorded. Here is the allocation, and what we'll do is we'll go to escrow. And escrow, this just got created. There's an extra $500. So that the remaining amount, since they paid $500 too much, got added to their escrow. So I know this is a little bit complicated, but there are a lot of elements to a payment processing system, especially when you're building one from scratch. I know you can probably get one off the App Exchange, but it won't do what you need it to do if you have a specific need, which especially in the real estate world, there is a specific need. So pretty cool, something pretty cool thing to build out and to really dig into. And really add on to. So I look forward to adding on to this and automating more of it, and and actually integrating it with QuickBooks and some other things, and really making this a rich application and using it. Hopefully it'll be in use for a long time. So that's it. I wanted to show you the payment allocation application in Salesforce. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you soon. Bye.